Have you ever wondered what goes through the mind of someone who walked away from you? Do they ever regret it? Do they ever miss you? You see, people don't always realize what they have until it's gone. At first, they feel free, confident in their decision. They think they made the right choice. But time has a way of revealing the truth. And one day, they will wake up and realize that losing you was the biggest mistake of their life. Stay with me till the end of this video, because I am going to reveal something that will change the way you see yourself forever. The pain of being left behind. When someone you love leaves, it feels like a part of you is missing. The silence they leave behind is loud. Your mind replays the moment, searching for answers. What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? Did they ever really care? These questions can consume you, making you feel like you're the problem. But let me tell you something. You are not the problem. The truth is, people often walk away not because you lack something, but because they fail to recognize your worth. They get comfortable. They assume you will always be there, and because of that, they take you for granted. But life has a way of teaching lessons. The same people who left you without a second thought will one day look back and realize what they lost. And when that moment comes, you won't be the same person they walked away from. Why people take you for granted? Human psychology is strange. When something is easily available, we don't value it. But the moment it's gone, we suddenly realize its importance. Think about it. How many times have you ignored something precious until it was no longer there? It's the same with people. When you give too much, expect too little, and always stay available, people assume you will always be there. And that's where they go wrong. Because one day you stop waiting. One day you choose yourself. And that's when the real story begins. The shift that changes everything. At first, they won't notice. They'll assume you're still there, still waiting, still hoping. But slowly, they'll start to see the changes. Your energy shifts. Your silence speaks louder than words. Your absence begins to feel heavier than your presence ever did. And suddenly, the person who once ignored you starts thinking about you all the time. But by then, something powerful has happened. You've outgrown them. The pain they left you with, it transforms you. The loneliness they thought would break you, it built you. The rejection they made you feel, it turned into redirection. And now they are the ones feeling the emptiness. They will regret losing you one day. They'll look at your life from a distance. They'll see the confidence in your eyes, the peace in your soul, the strength in your presence. And that's when regret will hit them like a storm. They'll remember the way you loved them. Fully, deeply, unconditionally. They'll remember how you were always there, how you believed in them, how you forgave their mistakes, and they will realize that no one else will ever love them the way you did. Regret is a powerful thing. It sneaks up when people least expect it. At first, it's just a passing thought. Then it becomes a feeling they can't escape, and before they know it, they're drowning in the weight of their own choices. But here's the truth. By the time they realize, you won't care anymore. The power of moving forward. Because while they were busy forgetting you, you were busy becoming the best version of yourself. You see, pain can do two things. It can break you, or it can make you unstoppable. And the moment you decide to stop chasing people who don't value you, you become a magnet for those who do. And that's where your real power lies. Not in proving your worth to someone who left, but in knowing your worth so deeply that you never have to prove it again. So if you're feeling abandoned, if you're questioning your worth, if you're waiting for someone to realize what they lost, stop waiting, because the day will come when they regret it. The day will come when they miss you. The day will come when they want to come back. But when that day comes, you will be too far ahead. The hardest part of losing someone is not their absence. It's the silence they leave behind. At first, it feels unbearable. You wake up and reach for your phone, expecting a message that never comes. You walk through your day waiting for them to realize their mistake. But they don't. They move on as if you never mattered. And that's what hurts the most. Not just the loss, but the way they made it look so easy. Your mind plays tricks on you. It whispers that maybe you weren't enough. Maybe if you had been smarter, more attractive, more successful, maybe then they would have stayed. And so you replay every moment, every conversation, trying to find the exact second you lost them. But let me tell you something. You didn't lose them. They lost you. They didn't walk away because you lacked something. They walked away because they failed to see what was right in front of them. And one day that realization will hit them harder than you ever could. The illusion of indifference at first, they act like they don't care. They pretend that leaving was the best decision they ever made. They laugh louder, post pictures, surround themselves with new people. They want the world to believe that walking away from you is easy. But that's a lie, because deep inside, they're testing you. They want to see if you'll chase them. They expect you to break, to beg, to prove to them that they still have power over you. But you won't. You see, most people don't realize what they had until it's gone. And right now, they don't feel your absence yet. They're too busy running, too distracted by the illusion of freedom. But life has a way of catching up, and the same person who ignored you today will one day search for you in places you no longer exist. The slow burn of regret. Regret doesn't hit all at once. It creeps in slowly, like a shadow following their every move. At first, it's just a thought. A passing memory of your laughter, your kindness, the way you made them feel. But they push it aside, convinced they made the right choice. Then, one day, something reminds them of you. A song, a scent, a place you used to go together. And suddenly, they feel it, a sharp, unexpected ache in their chest. They tell themselves it's nothing, just a memory, just a moment of weakness. But it doesn't stop. Because the truth is, when someone truly cared for you, their presence may fade, but their impact never does. And no matter how much time passes, a part of them will always wonder, what if I never left? The turning point. It happens in stages. First, they wonder about you, then they start checking your social media, searching for any sign that you miss them too. They ask about you through mutual friends, trying to keep it casual. But the worst part comes when they realize that you are no longer the same person they left. You see, they expected you to be stuck. They thought you would be waiting, broken, hoping they would come back. But instead, you changed. You grew. You became stronger, wiser, untouchable. And that's when regret turns into desperation, because now they don't just miss you, they miss the version of you that only existed for them. The version that loved them, forgave them, believed in them. The version that would have answered their late-night messages, given them another chance, waited forever if necessary. But that version is gone, and they can't handle it. The moment they realize, they sit alone in their room, scrolling through old messages, rereading the words they once ignored. They think about the times you were there, even when they didn't deserve it. They wonder why they pushed you away, why they didn't see your worth when they had the chance. And suddenly they feel it, the weight of their own actions. They thought they could replace you. They thought someone else would fill the space you left behind, but no one does. Because what you gave them wasn't just love, it was depth. It was understanding. It was a connection they will never find again. And that's when they regret it. That's when they want to come back. But by the time they do, you will be too far ahead. Because pain changes people. And while they were busy forgetting you, you were busy becoming unforgettable. It's a painful truth. People don't always appreciate what they have until it's gone. They assume you'll always be there, waiting, forgiving, understanding. They take your kindness as a given, your loyalty as a guarantee, and so they stop valuing you. They become careless with your time, your emotions, your presence. At first, you don't notice it. You make excuses for them. You tell yourself they're just busy, that they don't mean to hurt you. You convince yourself that if you just try a little harder, love them a little more, maybe they will finally see your worth. But they don't. Because the human mind is wired to overlook what is constant. Psychologists call it habituation. When something is always present, the brain starts filtering it out. And that's what happened to you. You were always there, so they stopped seeing you. You gave without asking for much in return, so they assumed you always would. You made sacrifices for them, so they took those sacrifices for granted. Not because you weren't enough, but because they were too blind to see your value. The illusion of control. They believe that no matter what they do, you'll always stay. They assume that your love, your patience, your kindness will never run out. And for a while, they're right, because you care, because you believe in them, because you see the good in them, even when they don't deserve it. But there comes a point when something shifts inside you. A moment of clarity, a realization that hits like a wave. You are worth more than this. And when that moment comes, everything changes. The power of absence. You don't truly understand the value of something until it's no longer there. Think about it. The air you breathe, the heartbeat in your chest, the electricity in your home, you don't think about them. You don't wake up every day grateful for oxygen or for the lights that turn on when you flip a switch. But if those things were suddenly taken away, if you were gasping for air, sitting in darkness, feeling your heart struggle to beat, only then would you realize how much they meant. And that's exactly how people realize your worth, through your absence. When you finally walk away, when you stop answering, stop chasing, stop giving, they feel it. The emptiness, the silence, the space you once filled so effortlessly. And suddenly they begin to understand the shock of realization. At first, they don't believe it. They assume you're just upset, that you'll come back like you always do. They convince themselves that all it takes is a message, a call, a little bit of effort to pull you back in. But then nothing happens. You don't respond. You don't wait for them. You don't look back. And for the first time, they feel what you felt. The uncertainty, the insecurity, the loneliness of wondering if someone still cares. They scroll through their phone, debating whether to reach out. They type messages, then delete them. They check your profile, hoping to see something, anything, that tells them you still miss them. But instead, they see a version of you they don't recognize, a version that is glowing, thriving, untouchable. And that's when fear creeps in. The fear that maybe, just maybe, they lost you forever. The consequence of taking you for granted. The truth is, people only learn through consequences. They don't change when you beg. They don't appreciate you when you overextend yourself. They don't realize your worth when you're always available. They learn through loss. They understand through regret. They change when they no longer have access to you. And by the time they come back, by the time they finally see what they had, it's too late. Because the version of you that once tolerated their neglect no longer exists. You've evolved. You've grown. You've become someone they no longer deserve. And nothing is more painful than realizing you lost something irreplaceable. The shift in power, once they had the power. They decided when to call, when to leave, when to return. They believed they had control over your emotions. But now, the power belongs to you. Because when someone realizes they took you for granted, they don't just feel regret, they feel powerless. They see you moving on without them. They see you smiling, thriving, embracing life in ways they never expected. And the worst part? They know they can't get you back because you've learned a truth that changes everything. You never needed them. You only needed to recognize your own worth. And once you do, there's no going back. There comes a moment when everything changes. At first, they thought they could walk away without consequences. They convinced themselves that you were just another chapter in their story, something they could close and move on from. But time has a way of revealing the truth, because no matter how hard they try, no matter how many distractions they seek, they can't replace you. They meet new people, hoping to fill the space you left behind. But something is always missing. The way you listened, the way you understood them without words, the way you made them feel safe, valued, important. And that's when the realization hits. You weren't ordinary. You weren't just another person in their life. You were the one who truly cared, who truly gave, who truly stood by them when no one else did. And now they've lost you. The void they can't escape. Regret is not just an emotion. It's a weight, the slow, creeping burden that grows heavier with time. At first, they ignore it. They tell themselves that leaving was the right decision. They fill their days with noise, distractions, empty conversations. But in the quiet moments when the world slows down and they are left alone with their thoughts, they feel the void. The conversations don't feel the same anymore. The laughter seems hollow. The connections lack depth. Because what they had with you wasn't just companionship, it was a bond. A connection rooted in something real, something they may never find again. And as much as they try to pretend otherwise, they feel the loss. Why? They try to come back. People don't return because they suddenly changed. They return because life has shown them what they lost. They see you thriving, moving forward, becoming someone even stronger than before. They realize that while they were out searching, you were evolving, and now they are the ones left behind. They reach out, testing the waters. A simple message, a casual check-in, an attempt to reopen a door they once slammed shut. But they don't do this because they care. They do this because they can't stand the thought of you not caring anymore. It's human nature. We want what we can't have. And the moment they feel they've lost you forever, their desire to have you back grows stronger. But what they fail to understand is this: you are no longer the person they left. The difference between then and now. Back then you would have answered immediately. Back then you would have felt a rush of hope, a longing to reconnect, a willingness to forgive. But now you see things differently. You no longer seek validation from the same person who didn't appreciate you. You no longer place your worth in the hands of someone who once treated you as an option. You've learned a powerful truth. Your value does not decrease because someone failed to see it. And that changes everything. The regret they can't escape. They thought time would erase you, but instead time revealed your true worth. Because while they were busy chasing temporary people and fleeting emotions, you were becoming someone unforgettable. They sit with the memories, replaying moments they once ignored. The times you stood by them, the love you gave freely, the way you made them feel like they were the most important person in the world. And suddenly they realize no one else made them feel that way. They miss your presence, your kindness, your patience, but most of all, they miss the way you made them feel about themselves. And that's something they may never find again. The power of moving on now. The choice is yours. You can allow them back in, let them return, give them another chance, or you can understand the lesson life has given you. Some people only realize your worth when it's too late, and you have the right to walk away. Because the greatest revenge is not anger, it's not hate, it's not trying to make them regret their choices. The greatest revenge is moving forward, becoming untouchable, living a life so full, so rich, so abundant that their absence becomes irrelevant, and when they see that, that's when they will regret losing you the most. There is a moment, an exact moment, when regret turns into panic. At first, they tried to ignore it. They distracted themselves, convinced they could replace you. They told themselves that you would come back just like before. But now something feels different because you haven't looked back. You haven't reached out. You haven't given them the reaction they expected. And that's when reality crashes down on them. They scroll through old messages, trying to relive the past. They check your social media, searching for signs that you still care. They replay conversations in their mind, wondering where it all went wrong. And then the fear sets in. What if they lost you forever? The weight of finality. The human brain struggles with the concept of permanence. People believe they have endless chances, that they can always go back and fix what they broke, but then one day they wake up and realize you are not coming back. And that's when the pain becomes unbearable, because now it's not just regret. It's the realization that they have no control anymore, no way to undo the past, no second chances left. They try to tell themselves that they didn't need you, that life will move on, that they will find someone else. But deep down, they know the truth. They had something rare, something real, and they let it slip through their fingers. The silent punishment. The worst punishment isn't shouting. It isn't anger. It isn't revenge. It's silence, because silence leaves them alone with their thoughts, their doubts, their guilt. They start wondering what you're thinking, if you still miss them, if you ever look back. But all they get is silence, and that silence speaks louder than any words ever could. It tells them that they are no longer important, that their absence no longer affects you, that their name no longer holds meaning in your life. And that realization, it destroys them. when they try to rewrite the story. When people realize they've lost something valuable, they try to rewrite history. Suddenly they remember the good times. They talk about how much they cared. They convince themselves that they never meant to hurt you. They reach out, saying all the words you once longed to hear, but not because they've changed, because they hate the idea of you moving on. They don't want you to find someone who treats you better. They don't want you to live a life where they no longer matter. So they try to come back not out of love, but out of fear. Fear that someone else will appreciate you the way they never did. Fear that they will have to watch you become everything they once underestimated. But now the choice is yours. For the first time, the power is in your hands. Once they made the decisions, they walked away. They chose when to come and go. But now they are the ones waiting, hoping, regretting. They see you rising. They see you glowing. They see you living a life where they are no longer needed. And it breaks them because they thought you would always be there. But they were wrong. Because now you know your worth. And when someone truly knows their worth, they never settle for less again. There's nothing more unsettling than watching someone become everything you once took for granted. At first, they thought time would weaken you, that eventually you'd miss them, break down, and reach out. They expected you to remain stuck in the past, waiting for their return. But instead, something unexpected happened. You changed, not out of spite, not to prove a point, but because pain has a way of transforming people. The version of you that once tolerated their disrespect, gone. The version of you that made excuses for their behavior no longer exists. The version of you that waited for closure doesn't need it anymore. And when they finally see this change, it shakes them to their core. The shock of losing control. People who take others for granted always believe they have control. They assume that no matter what they do, the other person will always be there, waiting, hoping, longing, but nothing disturbs them more than realizing they have lost that control. They send a message expecting an instant reply, but instead hours pass, days pass, silence. They try to make you jealous, thinking it will trigger an emotional reaction, but you don't flinch. You don't respond because you've outgrown the game. And suddenly the person who once had all the power is now powerless. This is when panic sets in, because now they are forced to accept something they never expected. You have moved on, and you are never coming back. Why? They can't stand the new you. When people lose someone, they usually expect to see them broken, struggling, lost. They want to believe that leaving was a mistake for you, that without them you are incomplete. But when they see you thriving, that's when reality hits them the hardest. They see you smiling, glowing, living a life that doesn't include them. They hear about your growth, your success, your happiness, and it burns them inside, not because they suddenly love you, but because they can't stand the thought of you being happy without them. It forces them to ask questions they never considered before. Was I the problem? Did I hold them back? What if they never needed me at all? And that kind of self-realization, it's painful, because now they are left with nothing but regret, the power of becoming unreachable. There was a time when you were easily accessible. They could text and you would reply. They could call and you would answer. They could walk away, knowing you'd always be there when they returned. But not anymore, because now you have learned one of life's most powerful lessons. When people show you their true colors, believe them the first time. You no longer beg for attention. You no longer chase half-hearted love. You no longer settle for less than you deserve. And this is what makes them regret everything. Because now they realize that while they were busy searching for something better, they lost the best thing they ever had. When they finally admit the truth, it takes time, but eventually they come to terms with what happened. They see the mistake they made. They recognize the role they played in losing you. They understand that they had something rare, something most people search a lifetime for, and they destroyed it with their own hands. And now they are left with the truth they can't escape. You didn't lose them, they lost you. And that truth, it will haunt them forever. There is a point when regret is no longer just a quiet whisper in their mind. It grows, it spreads, it consumes them. At first, they tried to ignore it. They convinced themselves they made the right choice. They told themselves they could replace you. But now every thought, every moment, every silence reminds them of what they lost. And that's when desperation takes over. Because regret alone is painful, but realizing you have no way to fix what you broke, that is unbearable. The urge to reach out, they try to resist it, but it eats away at them. They pick up their phone, type a message, then delete it. They scroll through your pictures, searching for something familiar, something that makes them feel close to you again. They replay old conversations, remembering the way you made them feel safe, valued, important. And suddenly they realize something that shakes them to their core. No one else made them feel the way you did. They thought moving on would be easy. They thought they could replace you like you never mattered, but they were wrong. Because now they are surrounded by people who don't understand them the way you did, who don't support them the way you did, who don't love them the way you did. And no matter where they go, no matter who they meet, it's never the same. When desperation makes them act, that's when the messages start coming. At first, it's subtle, just a random check-in, a simple, hey, how have you been? But when you don't respond the way they expect, the messages change. They remind you of the good times, trying to pull you back in. They tell you they miss you, hoping you'll say it back. They bring up old memories, searching for a crack in your strength. But you're different now. You don't fall for words. You don't believe in empty apologies. You don't let someone who broke you walk back in like nothing ever happened. And that's when they realize they have truly lost you. The fear of being replaced, nothing terrifies them more than the thought of you finding someone else. Because deep down, they know the truth. They had their chance and they wasted it. And now someone else will see your worth. Someone else will appreciate your kindness. Someone else will give you the love they never did, and they can't handle that. Because in their mind, you were supposed to always be there, a backup plan, a safety net, someone they could return to when the world didn't treat them the way you did. But you've changed. You no longer wait. You no longer tolerate half-hearted love. You no longer allow people to leave and come back whenever they please. And when they finally understand that, it breaks them. The moment they realize it's too late, they will try one last time, a long message, a late-night call, a desperate attempt to undo the damage they caused. But by now, you've seen too much. You've grown too much. You've healed too much. And when they finally hear the words they never thought they would hear, I've moved on, it will hit them harder than they ever imagined, because they always believed they had time. They always believed you would wait. They always believed you would be there when they were ready. But now they are left with nothing but their regret. And you are free. You are stronger. And most importantly, you are never looking back. There is no escape from the consequences of losing someone who truly cared. First, they try to distract themselves. They surround themselves with noise, with people, with temporary excitement. They chase anything that makes them forget the emptiness inside. But no matter how hard they try, the regret stays. Because regret isn't just a passing emotion. It's a constant reminder of what could have been. And that voice, it never fades. Regret comes in waves. It doesn't hit all at once. It comes in moments, in the quiet, in the spaces between distractions. They wake up and reach for their phone, instinctively expecting a message from you, only to remember that connection no longer exists. They hear a song that reminds them of a moment you shared, and suddenly the weight in their chest feels unbearable. They pass by a place you once went together, and for a split second they feel the warmth of that memory, only to be pulled back into reality, realizing that moment is gone forever. And every time it happens, the truth becomes clearer. They had something rare, something pure, something irreplaceable, and they threw it away. When they finally accept the truth, for the longest time, they convinced themselves that walking away was the right decision. But now the evidence is undeniable. They see it in their own unhappiness. They feel it in the emptiness that no one else can fill. They recognize it in the way life just doesn't feel the same anymore. Because the truth is, losing you wasn't just losing a relationship. It was losing a part of themselves, a part that felt safe, a part that felt understood, a part that believed in love. And now they are left searching for something that doesn't exist anymore, the version of themselves that existed when they had you. They try to run, but they can't hide. People think time heals everything, that eventually the pain will fade and life will move on. But some mistakes don't heal. Some mistakes leave scars. And this is the kind of regret that follows them everywhere. They see your name and feel their stomach drop. They hear your voice in their mind, reminding them of the kindness they took for granted. They feel the weight of what they lost every time they meet someone new, because no matter how hard they try, no one else can make them feel the way you did. And that's when they realize it's not that they just lost you, they lost the best version of their life. The unfinished chapter. The hardest part of regret is knowing that some things can never be undone. They can type a message, but it won't erase the pain they caused. They can say, I miss you, but it won't undo the nights you spent crying alone. They can try to come back, but deep down they know some doors once closed never open again. And that is what haunts them the most. Because they were the ones who ended the story. They were the ones who walked away. They were the ones who thought they could do better. And now they are forced to live with a truth that will never change. You were the best thing that ever happened to them. And they let you go. Regret is painful, but the worst kind of regret, the kind that comes with finality, the kind that whispers, you will never get this back. And that's the pain they are now drowning in. At first, they held on to hope that one day you would forgive them, that one day they could walk back into your life and things would go back to how they used to be. But now they are starting to realize the truth. That door is closed. Not because of anger, not because of pride, but because you finally saw your worth. They took too long to realize. They thought they had time. They thought they could walk away, explore their options, and then return when they were ready. But people don't wait forever. Hearts don't stay open endlessly. And while they were out chasing temporary things, you were growing, you were healing, you were becoming someone who no longer tolerates half-hearted love. And now, when they look at you, they don't just see the person they lost. They see someone who is out of reach, someone who has moved on, someone who no longer needs them. And that realization, it shatters them. The fear of being forgotten, nothing scares them more than the idea that one day you won't even think about them. Because while they are drowning in regret, you are rising in strength. While they are stuck in the past, you are building a future. And the thought that they are just a memory to you now, that they are nothing more than a chapter you closed, it's unbearable. They wanted to be your forever. But no, they realized they were just a lesson. And the worst part, you learned, you grew, you became wiser. And them, they are still stuck, wishing they could undo what can never be undone. They try to fill the void. They won't admit it, but they feel empty. They will try to move on, but nothing will feel the same. Because they aren't just missing a relationship, they are missing the love, the loyalty, the presence of someone who genuinely cared. And no matter how hard they try, they will never find another you. Because people like you are 1 in a million. And now they have to live with the truth. They had something rare, and they let it slip through their fingers. And once it's gone, it's never coming back. There's a moment in life when reality strikes so hard that it shakes the soul. A moment when the truth can no longer be ignored. And for them, that moment has arrived. They told themselves they would be fine without you, that they would move on, that life would be better. But now, in the silence of their own thoughts, they see the truth. Losing you was the biggest mistake of their life, because it wasn't just about losing a relationship. It was about losing a connection that made them feel alive, a connection that made them feel understood, valued, and at home. And now they stand on the outside looking in, realizing that the life they once had with you is no longer theirs. The pain of watching you move on. They never thought this day would come, the day when you would no longer look back. They assumed you would always be there, always waiting, always holding on to the hope that they would return. But now they see you moving forward, stronger, happier, unbothered, and nothing in the world could have prepared them for the pain of that realization, because while they are trapped in the past, you are building a future without them. They see you smiling, and it burns. They hear about your success, and it stings. They realize someone else will get the love they once had, and it destroys them, because deep down they know that should have been them by your side. The heavy weight of what-if regret doesn't come with a second chance. It doesn't come with a reset button. It only comes with questions that have no answers. What if I had treated them better? What if I had stayed? What if I had fought for them instead of walking away? But the truth is, what's done is done. And no matter how much they wish they could turn back time, they can't. Because life doesn't wait. Love doesn't pause. And now they are left chasing a past that no longer exists. They will try to come back, but it's too late. Desperation will take over. At some point, they will reach out, maybe with an apology, maybe with a long message, pouring out every emotion they kept hidden. They will tell you they miss you. They will tell you they were wrong. They will tell you they finally understand what they lost. But by then, it won't matter. Because you have already found your peace, you have already found your strength, and you have already learned the most important lesson of all. When people truly value you, they don't put themselves in a position to lose you. And that is why, no matter what they say, no matter how much they beg, you won't go back. Not out of bitterness, not out of revenge, but because you finally see your worth. And you know now, without a doubt, you deserved better all along. There's a moment when reality stops being something they can ignore, a moment when they can no longer lie to themselves, no longer pretend that things will go back to how they used to be. And for them, that moment has arrived. At first, they thought it was just a phase, that you would come back, that eventually you would reach out. But as time passes, the silence grows louder. They check their phone, expecting a message that never comes. They look for signs that you still care, but there are none. They realize you have let go. And that is the moment that breaks them, the power shift they never expected. For so long, they thought they had the power. They believed they were the ones who made the choice, the ones who walked away, the ones in control. But now they see the truth. The real power wasn't in leaving, it was in moving on. And you have moved on. You no longer wait for them. You no longer check for them. You no longer need them. And that shift, it terrifies them because they never thought they would be the one left behind. The emptiness they can't escape. They try to fill the void. They distract themselves with new people, new places, new experiences. But nothing feels the same because no matter where they go, the emptiness follows. They laugh, but it doesn't feel real. They stay busy, but the thoughts still creep in. They try to pretend they are fine, but deep inside, they are crumbling because they don't just miss you. They miss the way they felt when they were with you. And that feeling, it's something they will never get back. The unanswered questions that haunt them late at night, when everything is quiet, their mind starts racing. Did I make the biggest mistake of my life? Did I lose the best thing that ever happened to me? Is it really over? And the most painful question of all, do they even think about me anymore? Because deep down, they know the answer. You've healed, you've grown, you've moved on. And now they are left in the very place they thought they would never be. Alone with their regret, they finally understand, but it's too late. They thought they could replace you. They thought time would erase what they felt, but now they see the truth. You were irreplaceable. And now, no matter how much they wish they could go back, no matter how much they want to undo their mistake, some losses are permanent, and losing you is the one loss they will never recover from. There is no pain greater than the pain of losing someone who once gave their all for you, who wanted them, and now they feel that pain in its deepest form, because when they had you, they didn't just have a person. They had a heart that loved without conditions. They had a soul that stayed even when things got tough. They had someone who saw their flaws and still chose them every single day. But they took it for granted. They believed love like yours would always be there. that no matter what they did, no matter how they treated you, you would never leave. But now they know better, and that realization, it haunts them. The truth they can't escape. At first, they tried to ignore the pain. They convinced themselves they made the right choice. They filled their life with distractions, hoping that time would erase your presence. But now time is doing the exact opposite. Instead of fading, their memories of you grow stronger. Instead of healing, their heart aches even more. Instead of moving on, they are stuck in an endless loop of regret. Because the truth is inescapable. They lost something they will never find again. They see you flourishing without them. Nothing could have prepared them for this. They expected you to break. They expected you to wait. They expected you to remain lost without them, but instead you became unstoppable. You rebuilt yourself. You reclaimed your happiness. You walked away and never looked back. And now they are the ones drowning while you are thriving. They watch from a distance, unable to reach you. They see your confidence, your strength, your glow. And for the first time, they understand you never needed them. They were not your happiness. They were not your strength. They were not your purpose. And now that truth is breaking them apart. The regret that will never leave them. They can find someone else. They can start over with a new person in a new relationship with a new beginning. But deep inside, they know it will never be the same because love like yours, it doesn't happen twice. The way you cared, the way you forgave, the way you stood by them, even when they gave you every reason to leave. No one else will ever love them that way. And now they are left with a regret that has no cure, because while they were busy searching for something better, they lost the best thing they ever had. And the most painful truth of all, they will never get it back. Regret is one thing, but realizing that regret can't change anything, that is what destroys them. Because regret can make you wish, but it can't take you back. It can make you cry, but it can't heal the damage. It can fill you with sorrow, but it can't undo the past. And now they are trapped in the worst kind of suffering, knowing exactly what they lost and knowing they will never have it again. At first, they tell themselves there's still hope, that maybe one day things will fall into place again, that maybe you still think about them the way they think about you, that maybe if they reach out, you'll come running back. But deep inside, they already know the answer, because the person they once knew, the one who begged for their time, their love, their effort, doesn't exist anymore. They realize they can't manipulate their way back. For so long, they knew exactly what to say to keep you from leaving. A simple apology, a few sweet words, a promise to change, and every time it worked. Because you had a heart too big to turn away from someone you loved. But this time, something is different. This time, you're no longer listening to their words. This time, you're looking at their actions. And the truth is, their actions have already spoken. They didn't appreciate you when they had you. They didn't fight for you when they should have. They didn't value your presence until it became your absence. And now no words can change what they did. No manipulation can undo what they broke. And no amount of begging can bring you back. The silent punishment of watching you move on. If losing you hurt, watching you move on is unbearable because in their mind you were supposed to suffer without them. You were supposed to sit in your pain, lost in your loneliness, waiting for the day they return, but that didn't happen. Instead, you used the pain to rebuild yourself. Instead of breaking, you became stronger. Instead of drowning in sorrow, you rose with wisdom. Instead of waiting for them, you let go. And that is the moment they realize they were not the one who left you behind. You were the one who left them behind, the lesson they never wanted to learn. People don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. They thought you would always be there. They thought they could hurt you, disrespect you, take you for granted, and that you would never walk away. But now they see the truth. You weren't weak. You weren't desperate. You weren't replaceable. You were a blessing. And the saddest part? They had to lose you to finally see it. But by the time they understood your worth, it was already too late. There comes a moment when everything finally hits them, not just the regret, not just the loneliness, but the full weight of what they lost. It doesn't happen all at once. At first, it's just an empty feeling, a void they can't explain. Then it becomes a restless mind, playing memories they can't escape. And finally, it turns into a pain so deep that it shakes their soul. Because this is when they truly understand. You are not just someone who passed through their life. You were the one person who truly loved them for who they were. You were the one who gave without expecting anything in return. You were the one who saw their flaws but stayed anyway. And now you are gone. They try to fill the void, but nothing works, so they search. They search for distractions. They search for replacements. They search for anything that can numb the ache inside, but nothing works because deep down they know the truth. Some losses can never be replaced. They thought they could move on easily, that finding someone new would erase the past, that a new face, a new voice, a new relationship would make them forget that time would heal everything. But instead of healing, time is exposing the truth that no one else loves them the way you did, the truth that no one else understands them like you did, the truth that no one else will ever give them what they threw away. And that realization, it destroys them. The cold reality of your absence. There's a difference between missing someone and realizing you lost them forever. Missing someone is a feeling that comes and goes, but realizing they are never coming back, that is permanent. And now, that's what they have to live with. Every time they wake up, they feel the emptiness. Every time they scroll through their phone, they stop themselves from reaching out. Every time they hear your name, they are reminded of what they lost. And this is when they finally admit it to themselves, they were wrong. They were wrong for taking you for granted. They were wrong for not treating you better. They were wrong for thinking you would always be there. And now the silence of your absence is louder than anything they have ever heard. They will regret it forever. They say time heals everything, but not this, because some mistakes are too big to fix. Some regrets last a lifetime, and some people never get a second chance. They thought they could walk away without consequences. They thought they could live without you and never look back. But life has a way of teaching the most painful lessons, and now they have to live with the worst punishment of all, knowing that they had something rare, something real, something priceless, and they threw it all away. And then it happens. The moment they swore would never come, the moment their pride told them they would never face, the moment they realize they have no choice but to beg for another chance. At first they hesitate because they know they don't deserve it, because they know they should have valued you when they had you, because they know deep down they lost you the day they chose to take you for granted. But desperation is a powerful thing, and now they are drowning in it. The desperate apologies come too late, so they reach out. Maybe it starts with a simple message, a late-night text saying, "Hey, I've been thinking about you." Maybe it's a long paragraph spilling every regret they've ever had. Maybe it's a phone call, their voice shaking as they try to hold back tears. Or maybe they don't use words at all. Maybe they try to show up in places they know you'll be. Maybe they start liking your posts, hoping you'll notice them again. Maybe they send gifts, trying to buy back what can never be bought. But no matter what they do, it's too late. Because this isn't a temporary separation. This isn't a fight that can be fixed with an apology. This isn't something they can undo. This is a consequence of their choices, a consequence of their neglect, a consequence of believing you would always be there no matter what they did. And now for the first time they understand some doors once closed never open again. They thought you would always wait, but you didn't. This is the part they never expected. They thought you would come back the moment they reached out. They thought your heart was still waiting for them in the same place they left it. They thought that no matter how long it took, you would always be theirs. But they were wrong, because while they were wasting time, you were moving forward. While they were taking you for granted, you were learning your worth. While they were expecting you to wait, you were discovering something powerful you never needed them to behold. And now they see it clearly. You are not the same person they left behind. You are not begging. You are not waiting. You are not looking back. And that truth is their final heartbreak. They will never find another you. They can meet 1,000 new people. They can start 100 new relationships. They can search for you in every face, in every voice, in every touch. But they will never find another you, because what made you special was never just the way you looked or the way you spoke or the way you smiled. It was your heart. a heart that loved them unconditionally, a heart that forgave them over and over, a heart that saw the best in them when they couldn't even see it in themselves. And that kind of love, it doesn't come twice. So now they have to live with the truth that they had something rare, something real, something that could have lasted forever. But instead of holding on to it, they let it slip through their fingers. And now all they have left is regret.